can you print body parts?
We are about to find out at ETH Zurich.
Teleports?
Teleport.
Oh, I'm at the Bioprinting lab at ETH Zurich, where they print living tissue. Wow!
Hello, Quantum Explorers. I am Katya.
And I'm Kai.
And today we're going to be talking about quantum and drug discovery, how we find new medicines.
And I'll be teleporting to ETH to see a 3D bioprinter.
Our guests today are Pedram Roushan from Google Quantum AI and Sabrina Maniscalco, CEO of Algorithmiq. Hello. Thank you so much for joining us.
So why do we need quantum computing to find new drugs? We already have so many drugs.
It's true, we do have many, but the question is how well do they work and can we do something better? Drugs are made of many small parts that are molecules and atoms. We think that quantum computers could be much better in finding drugs that work to solve a lot of problems that are still unsolved. Think about the cure for cancer or the cure for Alzheimer's disease. There are many illnesses that are still open, and it would be fantastic if we could find a solution in an effective way, in a cost-effective way, using quantum computers.
Where do you think quantum computing can realistically help?
We do have ways of finding drugs, but they are not very efficient. It takes lots of computation and lots of energy to run big computers for many hours to come up with new drugs. But we are thinking to understand how molecules interact with each other. And when you're making a quantum computer, you're making kind of like small atoms and putting it together. So it's a very good choice to do chemistry and understand what is the chemistry of these molecules. So it's a very, in a sense, very natural, efficient way of looking for drugs. And it enables us to save lots of energy. You can imagine buildings after buildings, it's filled with big computers to solve problems that we are interested in. But now a quantum computer can be a very tiny energy efficient unit that can solve the same problem, because the problem that we are interested in kind of is better, is more suitable to be solved with these platforms.
So you mentioned atoms and molecules. Kai, do you remember what those are? What are molecules?
A molecule is basically a puzzle piece of a big puzzle. Like if you'd have water, then you put a lot of molecules with atoms together, then it will equal into water molecules. I don't know, but something like that.
It's very good, and I always think about them like the small Lego bricks to build big cities, and you have to have these small individual little pieces, all different colors, big and red and blue and small and smooth. And these are really the basic ingredients of the whole universe. And the way in which you put them together is really described by quantum physics. And that's beautiful. I mean, how a huge building, a huge city. I loved playing with Lego. And now I think about the constituent of nature, of the world around us, as small Lego bricks.
I got a Lego set right over there.
Yes, exactly.
And what's the biggest reason discovering new drugs is very hard to do or difficult?
You see, when you're playing with Legos, you can make a city, you can make many different things. How many different things you can make with 5 pieces of Lego?
A duck, a bird, a very bad plane.
Yes.
Bus. Yeah.
But your options grow very big if you have 50 pieces of Lego. So imagine now you have 1,000 pieces of Lego, and all these can come together in many different ways. When we are doing a computation, we are looking for the desired configuration. We are looking for a desired object, and to find that one, it takes many hours. So in a computation, you have to keep looking and looking for a good one, the one that is actually your answer. Since these Lego pieces, these atoms can come together many different ways, then it takes lots of time
But when you buy the Lego box, it comes with the instructions. But when you have to find the best drug, we don't have all the instructions. We just have to try. And then we have to try all these possible combinations. Imagine if you have a very, very complex castle to build and you just have to do it without any instruction. It's really difficult. So this is the challenge when you think about very complex things like a drug is a very complex. And you see, the drug also does not work in isolation. So it's not like a drug is one molecule, but it has to work inside our body. I mean, think about it has to be eaten, then it has to be melted somehow in the body, it goes in the stomach. And how do we take into account all these complex things? It's difficult. It's the reason why we don't know how to do it very efficiently yet.
Even with better computation, we will still have to test. And there is a very, very interesting lab at ETH, right, Kai, where the researchers actually print organs.
And it would be great to test new drugs on these 3D printed organs. Teleport time!
Oh, I'm back.
Hello, I'm Parth. I'm a senior researcher, and we are here right now in Professor Marcy Zenobiwang's Institute. We can actually see an ear with living human cartilage cells being printed. And this is a small ear. It'll probably take only 15 minutes to print, but you can actually print human-sized ear, as you can see over here. This will take about an hour to complete the whole print. Once you print the ear, you actually need to culture it in a media. You have this red part, which looks like blood. It's just the food that the cells need to grow and make the tissue. Once it's printed, so once it's actually created, it'll be very flimsy, very weak. But then with time, the cells will produce their own material that makes up the actual living tissue, and then it'll be like stiff, like your actual ear.
How long will like that then take?
So this one takes several months. After I think 90 days or something, this will fully mature into an actual tissue that you can implant. One of the biggest questions that we get asked as tissue engineers that, what is this waiting time? You bioprint a tissue, why can't you just put it in? And because the cells are not just the only component of the tissue, there's also a lot of other things other than the cells, which is called as the matrix that makes up the tissue. And unless there is the matrix, the tissue will not have the right properties that you need for implantation. Now, the patient wants it now. The patient cannot wait for several months. And this is still one of the biggest research questions that we are trying to solve. But also, if you consider that patients who are actually in the wait list for organ transplants, those people are in the wait list for several years actually. So even if they can wait for several months and get a tissue that is made from their own cells implanted in them, that's actually going to be better from a donor, because with donor there is also a lot of chance that it can fail eventually once it's implanted in you.
Quantum computers will help drug discovery go faster in the future. So can we test the drugs on these artificially printed tissues?
Yeah, of course we can. Another big research area is actually doing drug testing on these tissues. So you don't make a full human-sized tissue. In that case, you will make something which is much smaller, because then it's more manageable, it's more cost-effective, it's cheaper to do it like that. And then also you can test a lot of drugs if you can make a lot of these tissues. Quantum computing is, for instance, creating new drugs or enabling a leap in drug design as well as drug discovery. But then you can imagine that these drugs can be tested in these living human tissues, and you can actually, in fact, connect everything together. So you can have like robotic systems that can administer or put the drugs onto these living human tissues. The readouts or whatever the outcomes are can then be fed back into the computer, and the computer can then design new drugs, new, better, more effective drugs. And then that way you can do away with a lot of animal testing.
Can you print a human heart?
That's where we would want to come to one day. Right now, we are more at a stage where we can create these mini heart tissues, like the heart tissues that are small, a few millimeter in size, like very tiny, which are used right now for drug testing. But to make a whole human heart is a very complex problem that a lot of researchers are trying to solve. Probably we'll get there someday. It will take a little bit of time.
Wow!
Let's then go to another cool printer that we had that we actually flew aboard an aircraft. This printer can one day enable us to print actual living muscle tissues or cardiac tissues like heart tissues in space. So this one we actually took aboard an aircraft that imitates or simulates microgravity conditions, that is zero gravity conditions that you feel in the space. It is important to be able to recreate those conditions to create these living tissues so that once we can one day study disease models in space to be able to do some drug testing. And this will in the future help future astronauts, even humans who want to live live in different planets in the solar system or even beyond. Like what kind of food they need to take, what kind of exercise that they need to do to be able to keep the muscle strength, to be able to keep the healthy state of their heart for long periods.
Why does that say
6'7"?
yes?
Yeah, because that's just the size of the glove. That's the size of the glove that you are wearing. So you're actually wearing.
This is the best lab ever, and I need to go now. So
It was great having you here. Thank you for coming.
okay, bye.
So, what part in drug discovery is impossible for normal computers?
What is impossible? The first answer to this question is largely we don't know all the details. We are exploring it. So we are trying as much as possible to understand examples where you really want to have a quantum computer and where the quantum computer can give power. Why it is so difficult? Because, of course, at the same time, quantum computers are still babies. So as the quantum computers become more adult, as they grow, we will understand more what are the really hard problems in drug discovery that quantum computers can tackle. However, we have some ideas. First of all, they have to be something that is important for humankind. For example, to optimize some configurations of the drug, some types of the drugs, for which we already have some ideas. So is that part of drug discovery, which happens at the very beginning, just before trying on humans, okay? At the very beginning, there is a part related to molecule optimization, how they bind with the proteins inside our body. All these things we try to do with the quantum computer, and we believe that because quantum computers can mimic other quantum systems, then they will be doing better than classical. But it is a very hard problem. And also, the most exciting part, Kai, is that it is not just quantum computer. It is quantum computers combined with things like AI, for example. Because the problem is so complex that you can't do it just with quantum computer. Quantum computer will be the most groundbreaking part, but we also have to use AI. You also have to use a lot of algorithms that are of classical computer. You have to bring together in a melting pot, really, all the most powerful techniques and bright minds and everything that you have been able to do until now.
Right.
I want to quickly say to the thing where you said that classical computers are now like babies. That makes sense. But when they're actually growing, does not make sense. Because in the olden days, computers were this big, and nowadays they're like this big.
It's true. It's true. It's true. They are just, it's the opposite. As if, imagine if humans were, when they were old, they were much smaller than babies.
So wait, is this how it's going to look like? This olden days classical computer went smaller, and now quantum computers are then going back smaller.
There is another thing you have to pay attention, which is they are very different. You see, if you want to go to Paris, probably you can use train or you can use airplane. But if you want to go to, I think you went to South America, I saw a video of that. There is no way you can go with train. There is no way you can go with car. When distance get further away, cities get further apart, the places you want to go, then you really need different tools. So the size of quantum and classical computer you can compare, but you have to keep in mind they're very different mechanism. They're very different engines they have. Let's say you want to go to the moon. Which one are you going to take? Train or airplane? The answer is no. You really need to think about a different engine. And melting pot that Sabrina is talking is that, you put proper engines together to solve very complicated problem.
When I talk to people about quantum computing, sometimes, especially in drug discovery, they would say, we're already using AI for drug discovery. Why would we even consider quantum? Isn't it the same thing? So how would you answer that question to say that it isn't the same thing? Actually, what you've just been saying, Pedram, that is quite different. But also, how different is it from AI, computationally speaking?
I think it's different in a sense that, going back to the example of Lego, when you're putting these Legos together, you have lots of options, right? But imagine you have Lego pieces that have a little brain to themselves, that they come together a little better. And they are following the rules themselves that are more suitable, that when they are coming together, they follow certain instruction because atom follows certain rules of quantum mechanics that is more suitable. And this make it different than AI. Then your life become much easier because these Lego are not going to be just randomly together and you have to learn the pattern and whatnot. They are kind of a good citizens. They kind of, if you want to make a city, they kind of follow rules themselves, and that kind of helps us, and that's what makes it different from AI.
Kai, and AI seems magic. Sometimes it looks like, oh, ChatGPT can talk to me, can answer my question. But actually, the truth is that it is not magic. I mean, he has just learned from a book, from data that we give them, as if we give them all the possible books in the world, and then the AI will know and will learn how to reply. But AI will never be able to know a book which is never been given to him in another language completely. And this book, in a fantastic magic language, which AI does not have, is the language of quantum mechanics. So we have to give, the way in which they work together is that we have to give the new fantastic megagalactic rule, the little brains in the Lego bricks somehow that the AI does not have. We can provide them with quantum computers, and then AI will be able to work with this additional knowledge, which, however, is given by quantum. So it's like an additional way of operating, which is not known to the current AI yet, because it is truly quantum. But they can work together. You can teach AI on the basis of data of a book, which is the quantum book.
So if you ask AI to create a new story, what it'll likely do is it'll look inside of a story, take the logical stuff like Alan walks through the forest and sees a wolf, and then it will take that information, bring it to its story, and then go to another book, look inside and see Asterix pulls out a sword from the stone, or I don't know, whatever, and it just puts all these stuff together and then says, here's your story.
Yes, but it cannot create a story from nothing in a language which it doesn't know. So that is a limitation. While quantum really is able to create rules or to mimic the rules of nature, how to combine the bricks in a way that is fundamental, basic. It does not require any data.
So specifically in drug discovery, the goal isn't just speed. Of course, we want to get new drugs as fast as possible to the people, but it's also important to make better decisions, right? To make sure that the resulting drug is actually what we're looking for. So in terms of specifically quantum advantage, what do you think quantum advantage would actually look like in drug discovery?
The first part is that in itself, how do we call or how do we define a quantum advantage for a new drug will be clearly a set of complex benchmarks with all the classical methods, obviously. We have to compare something to something. The advantage is, okay, this is better than these other things. I can do something. I can create a drug which I cannot create in any other way. But the important point that you made, however, is that this is not all, because the whole system of creating new drugs also has regulations, clinical trials, legislations that are very important. Always, it's important to remember that there is the simulation with the quantum computer. There is all the rest, comparison with classical methods and so on. And then there is the human component, which will always be there. So we will have to integrate humans in the part of clinical trial, but also in the part of regulatory and so on and so forth, which in the end, they will have power of deciding with machines. So it is quantum plus AI plus people, policymakers. So all this combination of factors, they have to work together for something so complex as creating a new drug, which is safe, which is efficient, which is new, and that solves one of our major still open, unsolved challenges like curing cancer, as an example.
When will we start using quantum computers like every day to find new drugs?
That's a bit tall order. You have to be patient. We are using quantum computers these days, let's say even past few years, that solve problems that people care about. Very, very hard technical problems. Now we want to go beyond physics to chemistry and then drug, and then expand our horizon of things we can do. And that takes slightly or maybe a little more better quantum processors and easier algorithms. Two things have to come together. It would take few more years. If you have to make better quantum units, better engines, which have to be cleaner and more reliable and less noisy, and they don't break down very often. And then algorithm, the instruction set of how to put pieces together has to become slightly also easier and simpler. These two have to come together. They have been coming together very rapidly in the past 10 years, but still I feel we need few more years. Like few months ago, we put an article which we did a tiny, tiny molecule, and we answered a very, very small question about a molecule which was only few atoms. But to go a little beyond that, you have to be patient. And these things have to happen at the same time. So they do like a handshake, and that would be the moment of creation.
How long can you wait, Kai?
5 seconds.
No, it's okay, impossible.
So how many years are you away from college?
10.
Yeah.
10.
Okay.
Okay, we can do that.
It's good. Yes, we can do it. Yeah, 10 we can do.
One question I have for you, Kai. So we mentioned algorithms quite a few times. And in fact, Sabrina is specifically working on algorithms for drug discovery. Do you remember what an algorithm is?
Algorithm is recipe. An algorithm is like, for example, instructions for an oven. Then you could first turn on oven. If oven heat equals 180 degrees, then stop heating. Else, if it equals lower than that, then wait until it gets that. Or if it's over that, then lower the heat, and so on, like how to put the stuff in. Just a very hard recipe, basically.
Yeah. And the thing which is fascinating is that when you have to do this recipe for a quantum computer, it becomes even more interesting because quantum systems are different. So they behave differently. And therefore, it's like if you have recipes with, I would say, a different logic, a different way of reasoning in a way. And this is very nice. It's beyond what you can do, for example, for the oven in this case.
Let's say, you want to go to sleep. Your mom says, hey, go put your pajamas on, brush your teeth, go to your room, turn off the light. The recipe that she gives to you gets shorter as you grow up. Now, probably your mom says, go to your bed and sleep. That's a recipe. That's a very short recipe because you are a good Lego, because you have brain. And that helps you that's what makes things. So these quantum units, because they are good choices that we made, the instruction set is shorter. That's why they are doing a better job. We give them instruction, but since they have a little brain which thinks quantum mechanically, that the instruction set is shorter for them. Therefore, we have an efficient way of doing chemistry with them.
Given a problem, we have to think what is the best recipe. in order to achieve this task? What is the best instruction I can give in order to find the most efficient molecule or drug in this case? And then we have to invent the best recipe. So we are recipe discoverers.
Yes.
How do you check that everything is correct, that you've got the correct result?
Many people, many companies are thinking what is the best way of checking that what you have developed is actually more efficient. So there are many ways. It's difficult to give one simple answer, but it is one of the main topics of development in this field.
What are you most excited about in the next, say, 2-3 years, and then in the next, say, 10-20 years?
I think that I'm extremely lucky to be living in a moment, really historical moment, where developments like quantum computing and AI are already changing our society dramatically. I mean, to me, it's almost like living science fiction, and I'm starting to live like in an era in which all these things are actually happening.
This century would be the century that we engineer quantum mechanics, starting from this year, in fact, that we will engineer quantum mechanics to improve big major questions of life. So these are very fortunate moments to be living in. It took us hundreds of years to arrive at our understanding of nature, and now we can really engineer it to our benefit. In the next few years, I would say we would be doing bigger and better experiments that more convincingly we show that this way of computation is superior to classical computers. Expand, going beyond physics problem, getting into chemistry problems, getting into biological questions and bigger questions in science.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
joining us today.
It's been so fun. Thank you. And thank you, Kai, for the incredibly good questions.
And also thank you to our viewers and listeners, of course.
Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe button.
Please do send Kai your questions for the next episode. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.
Bye.